council meeting on Wednesday, the 25th of September, 2024. I'd like to welcome my fellow councillors, Kirsten, Alexander, our CEO, and all staff that are here today. Thanks for coming in. And also all of you online that may be watching. I'll call on each councillor to and confirm verbally that they can see all councillors and hear the proceedings. Councillor Holcomb.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I can hear the proceedings and see all councillors and council officers.
Thank you. Councillor Tehan.
Yeah, I can see all council officers, councillors, and hear the proceedings.
Thank you. And Councillor Webb.
I can see all councillors and council officers and hear the proceedings.
Thank you. I'll ask each councillor to confirm by raising their hand that they could hear each other's statement. Councillors. Thank you. Madam CEO, apologies.
We have apologies from Councillor Sladden today.
Okay, noted. Statement of commitment. As councillors of Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the Mansfield Shire Councillor Code of Conduct and Councillor Charter. We will, at all times, faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us by the community. I'll ask each councillor to confirm their commitment. Councillor Holcomb.
I confirm my commitment, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Tehan.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Webb.
I confirm my commitment.
And I confirm my commitment. Deputy Mayor, if you do the acknowledgement of country, please.
Our meeting is being held on the traditional land of the Tamarang people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community. Thank you.
Item 6, the disclosure of conflicts. I'll ask each councillor whether they have conflicts of interest in relation to agenda items. Councillor Holden.
No conflicts, Mr. Mayor.
I have no conflicts. Councillor Webb.
No conflicts relating to any agenda items. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Tehan.
No conflicts, Mr. Mayor.
No conflicts. Item 7, representations. There are none. Item 8, policy reports. 8.1.1, the governance and management checklist 2023 to 24. The responsible officer is governance and risk, Chelsea Young, but I'm assuming that our boss of that area, Tanya Tabone, will take the chair. The purpose of this is the council is required to authorise the Mayor and CEO to certify the governance and management checklist. Councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Tabone? No questions. Any comments, councillors? In that case? Yep. Councillor Tehan.
I'd like to move that council receive and note the governance and management checklist 2023-24 and 2, authorise Mayor, Councillor Steve Raby and CEO Kirsten Alexander to certify the governance and management checklist 2023-24 for the purpose of inclusion in the 2023-24 annual report.
Thanks. And Councillor Holcomb, you had your hand up for a second there. Correct. Yep. Okay. Anyone want to speak to the motion? Against the motion? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried. Unanimous. Thank you. Now, item 8.1.2. Thanks, Tanya. Mr. Boney. Item 8.1.2, the performance statements 2023-24. The responsible officer is the coordinator of financial planning and analysis, James Alcanas. Welcome, James. The purpose, this report presents the performance statements 23-24 to council for certification. So councillors, over to you. If you've got any questions for Mr. Holcomb. Councillor Holcomb.
I've got two questions. Just with respect to OP1 in the council papers, the adjusted underlying surface decreased by 40 decrease. Can you tell me what? And this is I'm saying this Mr. Upkins without any notice, so it's probably a little bit unfair. But can you just tell me in rough numbers what the adjusted underlying surplus would have been if we had won those Commonwealth grant in on time? Sorry, coming in on the time that it normally does, and secondly, the sale of Lake and Road, if that had come in 3 days earlier.
Sure.
Roughly.
Yep. So through you, Mr. Mayor, the total of those two transactions, with the financial assistance grant, if it had been received by council during June, to the tune of 3.7 million as we budgeted, would have had a large effect. And of course, the Lakens Road sale, we had budgeted originally for June to be received, and that was a further 1.5, just shy of that. The underlying surplus would have been, well, the total of those two figures was about 4.9 million. So we would have had quite a large improvement in our underlying surplus ratio there. I probably need to just calculate the underlying surplus figure.
Yeah, I reckon that's about 11 million. That's all right. Oh, no, sorry.
8.4.
No, it's it's 4, 7, 8
So our underlying surplus for the year was 8.9. So we'd add the 4.9 to that.
But the underlying surplus, it's 3.9, wasn't it?
But with the addition of the net asset increment as well for the year.
Oh, okay.
So if you refer to our comprehensive. Oh no, sorry. The surplus for the year is 3.905. The comprehensive result was 8.6 rather. So we'd add the excuse me, plus the 4.9. Our surplus would have been 8.805.
Yeah. So so then we certainly from an income point of view, we would come in ahead of budget on an income point of view and pretty close to budget. Surplus comprehensive result. If those are, so both those numbers, the grant and the Lakens Road were meant to be in last year's budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. But we were expecting them both in June.
Yeah.
So right at the 11th hour.
Yep. So going forward, so for the next council, those numbers, because we did the budget some time ago.
Yes.
So those numbers, where are they?
So they're basically been received. So we're forecasting them as being received as of this financial year.
So, but they're not in this year's budget.
No, because they were received in last year's, but the balances carry through in terms of if we did receive it into 24-25's budget, it would have they'd just carry through on the balance sheet.
Okay, but I'm just saying when we're reporting against this year's budget, when the new council is reporting against this year's budget, those numbers are actually
through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
It should be essentially this should be additional income that we receive in this financial year that we haven't budgeted for.
and quite a lot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So it's a free kick to the next council. That's what I'm saying.
It is in a reporting sense.
Just councils. Can that be put in future notes about that? Those numbers are due to the prior councils.
You want the words free kick in there, councillor?
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify that. So thank you.
Councillor T.
Yeah, I've just got a question in relation to C1 and the expenses per head of municipal population, and I'm taking that the figure that you've put in there, you're saying would be closer to $2,673 if it wasn't for the one-off expenses. I was just trying to compare it to what it is with the one-off expenses. Is that all of the 15%? So were we basically on budget for our expenses per head of population? You understand what I'm trying to say? You've got this figure of 15%, a 15% increase.
Yep.
Is that above budget?
Yes.
Yep, righto. So these one-off costs would have escalated that expense figure.
That's right.
So the figure that is there that you said without them, it would be around 2,673. Is that where we budgeted expenses to be, pretty much, give or take?
Yes.
That's
right.
Sorry,
through you, Mr. Bear. Yes, that's correct. The increase is remarkably CPI.
Yeah.
So about 3 to 4%, 3.8%, in fact, is the increase without those once-off expenses in the calculation. So that 2,673 is 3.8% higher than what it was last year.
Okay, all right. Oh, that's good. So expenses what this is saying is then our expenses as an organisation are pretty much run as they should have.
Correct.
Over the past for that financial year. This is probably a question you may not be able to answer, but you can probably get back to me later. But how does that figure compare to comparative shires? Would you have
for this financial year?
Yeah. Well, no, for the financial.
Yes, for the end of this financial year,
just done.
Figures.
Yeah. Because I know we have done some comparisons, and I'm just wondering how that relates, how that compares.
I'd have to come back to you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, because the other councils would yet to have posted their annual reports, we probably don't have that visibility at this point in time until all of their statements have gone through, released publicly.
Yep. And I might add as well, some of the comparative figures we've presented to council previously have been based on expenses per basically rateable properties rather than population.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's a slightly different variable there we need to factor in, but we can definitely calculate that and confirm.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Councillor Holcomb.
Yeah, I'd just like to take that a step further. And Mr. Alkins, with the municipal population as being the base number there, what has it been taken into account, the increases in municipal population against the prior year? Or where's that number coming from?
That's coming from source data. It's coming from excuse me. It's based on census data from 2020. From 2023. So it's an estimate, which is auto-populated by the LG PARIF, the LGV entity that supplies the original sheet to prepare the performance statements. So it's not more than 12 months old.
That's not more than 12 months old.
So it could be more now. I guess in
that's where I was
fact.
going, but you're right. Okay.
So there's a slight lag in terms of population number, but for the purposes of this, we were provided with a population figure of 10,546.
Yep.
Within the Shire.
10,000. Sorry.
10,546.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone? Councillor Webb, any questions?
Nothing from me, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I've got a question. Mr. Alkins, usually, I'll start off with making a statement, I suppose. Usually, the FAGS grants are paid to the state government, and the state government usually pay them straight out once they receive them. Is that the reason why you put it in the budget for 23-24?
Indeed, that's the reason why council has included in the budget. In fact, council was of the expectation, and it's been set from the past 8 years, in fact, that we've received the financial assistance grant in June.
On time.
On time, yeah.
Yeah, and this year, the state government held it back to after. So we got it in
Correct.
July.
We did. We received it on the 5th of July.
Yeah.
So our cutoff, of course, being the 30th of June for purposes of reporting. So,
So their books look good and ours not so good just because of
the
that.
product of that delay, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
It highly distorts the figure.
Yeah, sure. So if we had got it, would have been good. Yep. Thanks for that. Councillor Holcomb?
And is this the grant that the state government took a percentage of going through that we normally get? Well, am I talking the right grant?
No, different grant. That's the grant for the roundabout at Whitfield Road and Dead Horse Lane.
Yeah.
They took 9%.
Yeah.
Off us.
So we got the full amount on this one.
So we hopefully got the full amount, but what they did is they kept it. And then we didn't get it until after the financial. It's skewed our figures a little bit, but we've got it. It's amazing. Yeah. Wonderful. Any other councillors got any questions? In that case, I'll have a motion before us. Councillor Holcomb?
The council approves in principle the performance statements of the Mansfield Shire Council for the year ended 30th of June 2024 and authorise Mayor Council and Deputy Mayor Councillor Holcomb to certify the performance statements of Mansfield Shire Council for the year ended 30th of June 2024, subject to any amendments or changes made as required by the Victorian Auditor General's Office. There you go.
A second, please. Councillor Teahan. You going to move the motion, Councillor Holcomb? Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, just very briefly. I think they're a pretty good set of numbers. It would have been made even better with some of the timing of a couple of those, the grants and the sale of the Lakens Road. So it's been a good result for all the executive overall. I think the residents should be pretty happy that this Shire is in a pretty good financial state. And I'd just like to thank the efforts of Michael and James in your roles in putting all these numbers together, because we know what you've had to go through to get it, and you've done it in a pretty short period of time. So well done, and thank you for that. Sort of gives certainly really a great deal of confidence with both of you looking at it in particular.
Thanks, Councillor Holcomb. Councillor Teahan, the second motion, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, look, I'd like to agree with Councillor Holcomb. I think these numbers are pretty good now. One particular one I thought was of interest was the decisions made at meetings closed to the public. Given that we have been able to attract so many grants recently for our infrastructure projects, for our roads and car parks and whatnot. And so there's been an increase of 124% of decisions made that were closed to the public, but I can assure the public they were all very good decisions for them, given that we were tendering for work, programs and projects. I'd also like to acknowledge what Councillor Holcomb said to our finance guys, Michael and James. Well done on a lot of hard work getting. I know you were thrown in the deep end just before the budget, and you did a great job then. And then you have to back it up with an annual report, which pretty much straight after. And you've done a great job. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Teahan. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion or against the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried unanimously. Thanks, Mr. Alcanes. Well done. Item 8.1.3, the annual financial statements. 23-24, and the responsible officer of financial controller, Mr. Michael McCormack. The purpose of this item is report presents the financial statements for the year ended 30th of June 24 to council for certification. So any questions for Mr. McCormack? Councillors, council team.
Yeah, I've got one. Under the working ratio capital, you talk about unearned grant income. It's an interesting phase. Do you reckon you could just explain what it means a bit more layman terms, perhaps?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll give it my best shot. So with our grants, we have two accounting standards that we have to apply, categorize our grants under. So there's accounting standard 1058, and within those grants, when we receive them, we've got basically no restrictions on our spend within those grants. So we've got no allocation towards where our projects are. And then there's accounting standard 15, where we've got those grants where there's a condition where we only can receive the income at a percentage of where the project's completed. So as an example, if there's a project which is $1 million and we've only got to 50% of that project stage, we can only take up $500,000 of that grant. So there's 500,000 that we've received that we actually take as, which we consider as unearned within that grant. So that sits as a liability because we've still got 50% of that project to spend.
That's very good. Thank you.
Councillor Holcomb.
Yeah, just a question on page 18 of the council papers. And it's also referring to grants. It says there, and in the commentary under the first table on page 18, referring to unearned grant income, it says that it reflects a $1.115 million decrease in the balance from the prior year end. The $7,000 difference relates to non-grant related prepaid income received impacted. I don't understand. Have me work out that $7,000 figure.
The 7,000?
It's 7K. It's easy.
Oh, so yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The $7,000 is a non-grant contribution that we haven't actually recognised that income received or cash received. So it's still sitting as unearned. So it's actually separate. It's more of a public contribution, a contribution rather than a grant money. That's 7,000.
Oh, right.
But we still haven't. We've received that money in advance before utilising that for a project as well. But it's through a contribution, not a grant.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions, councillors? Thanks. Page 22 has a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes, councillor Tom.
Yep. Okay. I'd like to move that Council 1 approves in principle the financial statements of Mansfield Shire Council for the year ending 30th of June 2024. And 2, authorises Mayor Councillor Raby and Deputy Mayor Councillor Holcomb to certify the Mansfield Shire Council financial statements for the year ending 30th of June 2024 on behalf of Council, subject to any amendments or changes made as required by the Victorian Auditor General's Office.
Thanks, councillor Holcomb. Seconder?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor T, and you've moved the motion. Do you want to speak to the motion?
No, I think they're, again, they all look really good to me. Yeah, assets, liabilities. Everything seems to be in order. And I just did notice and think about the Victorian Auditor General's Office when I read the recommendation, and hopefully that we get their approval a little bit quicker and more prompter than we did last year. So, yeah, that's all.
Good one. Councillor Holcomb, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I'd just like to, one thing that really could, it's not a surprise, but the more you look at it, the more you think that it's $270 million, basically it's $270 million worth of assets in this room, and this organisation manages on behalf of ratepayers. And I think the size of that is really important. Coming up to election, but that's what whoever's going to stand for this council has to wear that responsibility of, and having the ability of being able to manage that sort of money. I think it's something which goes right under the radar in terms of how big this organisation is. And there's no doubt that there's nothing else in this shire that comes anywhere near that. So I think the size of it is not well understood by the community. Maybe even internally, it's not as well understood as perhaps people in this room would understand it, but people in the organisation probably don't realise the size of it, the importance of it. And it's a real responsibility for all of us, councillors and the executive, in terms of how we manage that responsibly for ratepayers. And when you see a number like that, to me, it really stands out. It's just, it's a decent sized business.
Thanks, Councillor Holcomb. Thank you. Councillor, are there any other, you want to speak to the motion, Roland? No, okay, I don't either. So I will put that motion to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour of the motion? And that is passed unanimously. Item 9 is to close the meeting. So I shall do so, and not before I thank council officers for coming in today and answering the hard questions. Thanks very much. All of those people that may be looking online, thanks for your interest. And therefore, thank you, councillors, for attending and online too. So I'll close the meeting now at 09:30. Good morning.
Thank you.